At 73, Ginny MacColl from North Carolina is a world record holder for being the oldest competitive female ninja athlete.
Hey, look at this! Ginny MacColl's gonna do it!
Keep going, keep going!
Ginny MacColl has made history!
But far from considering her best ninja days are behind her, Ginny believes she can get stronger and more competitive. And this has all stemmed from a goal to complete just one full pull-up. When she finally managed that 10 years ago, it sparked bigger strength ambitions and an extraordinary fitness journey that now sees her swing, leap and climb around obstacle courses like a competitor at least half her age. It's also won her a legion of followers on social media too. I'm Claire Johnston, a journalist exploring how to age well, look and feel good for longer, and I do that on YouTube, podcast and social platforms, and on my website honest.scot. And today Ginny's going to share with us exactly what it took to develop this exceptional strength and fitness in her later years, how it's changed her life and attitude to aging, and how we can do it too. Ginny, thank you so much for taking time out to share your story with us today. And I've got to start by asking, with a name like MacColl, am I talking to a fellow Scot?
Yes, you are indeed.
Oh.
As a matter of fact, I went to one of the Highland Games recently that was in North Carolina, and I was able to go look at the books and see. It's very complicated because MacColl is under many different kinds of names. So on both sides, because my mother was Walker, which is also, her father was in Abingdon.
Okay,
So,
yes.
yeah, so definitely very Scottish.
So it comes from your mother and father's side?
Yes.
Oh, you're a pure Scot. Excellent. This is going to be a good conversation then. Well, Ginny, you are super strong in your 70s, and I would love to go back and find out how you arrived at this point. So I think you started out as a professional dancer, am I right? Have you always been fit and active?
That is true. I was very shy as a child, and my parents put me in dance class, and dance was a type of communication. It was interpretive dance. So I kind of came out of my shell then, but I loved dance, and I stayed in it all through high school, and then I went to college to major in dance education. But I discovered there that I didn't want to learn how to teach it. I wanted to dance. And the only way to do that was to leave Tennessee and go to New York City, which is what I did. And I gave myself a goal of 3 to 5 years because everybody says you're not going to make it, nobody makes it. And I danced all day long. I mean, that was my life, living, eating, sleeping, dance. And I was on scholarship and gradually worked my way from modern dance into jazz and Broadway. So that was the peak of all peaks, was being on the Broadway stage as a dancer. And I understudied a leading role and was able to go on for 2 weeks straight. So I would walk down Broadway and go, I'm playing a lead in a Broadway show.
Oh,
It was just, it seemed like the pinnacle at the time.
Yeah,
But I
absolutely.
made a vow to myself when I was 16 that I would always keep exercising in one shape or form. There was that time when I had my kids and, like everybody else, you're traveling with them to all their gymnastics and baseball and the things that they do. And the exercise kind of went out of being all day to just maybe a 20-minute routine in the morning that was simply stretches and, a couple of sit-ups, sort of crunches, push-ups, 23 push-ups I had to do.
Wow.
And it was just a 20-minute routine, which kind of maintained, just kept me where I didn't feel like I was falling apart. But I always ran around with the kids. We climbed trees. We, played games. We swam in the lake. We had a great time that way. But it wasn't like the days of being a dancer. In fact, I couldn't go back to dancing because I felt that I was not as good as I used to be. And it was not fun to, try to do some of the things that I used to do and not be able to. So I kind of quit dancing when I was 30.
But you stayed fit and active, but at
I
some
did.
point you can tell us when you were diagnosed with osteopenia, which must have been quite a surprise considering the lifestyle.
Well, I'll tell you the truth. I never heard the word osteopenia. And in my walks of life right now, I check with everybody in their 30s and 40s, and most people have not heard that term.
Yeah.
So when I went to the doctor and she said you have osteopenia, I'm like, "Well, what is that?" And of course, just for everybody's knowledge, it is the step before osteoporosis. And I said, "Oh my gosh, that sounds terrible. What do I do? Can I reverse this?" And she said, "No, you just take calcium." And basically, that's what I did. I was like, "Oh, this is awful. You can't reverse it. That doesn't make sense. But I'll take the calcium."
How old were you, Ginny, when that happened? How old?
Late 40s. I can't pinpoint. Yeah,
Oh,
after menopause, which is what most people say is when you lose the most bone
yes.
mass. So that was just I just let it be. You know, when the doctor says you can't do anything about it, you just go about your business and hope you can maintain. But when I retired and I got on this campaign to get stronger after viewing my daughter, I went to a personal trainer, and that's when I first started learning how to develop the upper body, which I had not done in dance. And so after 2 years of weightlifting, I went back and got my bone density test. I think we get them every 2 years. When I went to get the results, it was dramatic. It had changed back to normal. And so that's when I, said all over Instagram and my social media is this is women, men, everybody. You have to know that you can reverse this. Now,
Yes.
lots of doctors say that, lifting weights, but so many still don't give that as an option and tell people that you can reverse it. So that was important for me to get that message out. What my friend, you lose 1 to 2% of bone mass per year. And my friend said, "Oh my gosh, I just went to the doctor. I lost 7%, which was, after 4 or 5 years, it was about normal." She said, "What do I do?" And her doctor had said, that, statins, or you can take something for it. But she was just like, "No, I know you did it. How did you do it?" And that was it. It was the weightlifting that basically did it. But the calcium had to do something as well, and sunshine and all the other
Yeah.
things put together. But
Yeah.
I want people to know that it's possible to reverse it, as well as osteoporosis. If you start working out early, and if I could get 20 and 30-year-olds to start making that part of their campaign, then maybe, just maybe, people won't get osteopenia, and therefore they won't get osteoporosis. That could be a hope.
Yeah. Well, this is it, Jenny, and this is why I'm always so keen to talk to women like you who've been able to turn this around. And now I can't get my head around the fact that the medical profession doesn't talk about this more. And, I'm trying to think of all different ways that we can change that so that strength training becomes something that is prescribed along with medical interventions. So we really got to get to that point. I'm so curious to hear though is the story of how you built this exceptional strength in later life. And take me back. You mentioned there that your daughter was the inspiration. Now, she appeared on a show, was it American Ninja Warrior? I haven't seen it here in the UK. Probably is available somewhere to watch. Just looking at clips of it, I was like, my goodness, I can see why they call it Ninja Warriors. Why did your daughter come to be on that? And what happened when you watched her do her thing?
Oh, it's such an interesting story. My daughter is a stunt actress. Now that came from, well, I was an actress. So after I did Broadway, I started doing commercials and some soap operas and things like that. And so she kind of grew up with that in her head, of acting and dancing and movement. And she went to college for to be an astronaut, but found it wasn't right for her.
Mm-hmm.
But with all her gymnastics, she got a full ride with pole vaulting, which that's another whole story. We had that Title IX, which allowed the women to have as many sports as the men did. So it really boosted that whole women in sports. It was way before I had that. We didn't have the sports growing up at all. Yeah, maybe a few sports in high school. And so she changed from all her gymnastics and pole vaulting, and then with the acting background, and became a stunt actress. So when she graduated, packed up and went to LA and started that whole process of becoming a stunt actress. So she happened to be walking on Venice Beach, I think, when they were doing American Ninja Warrior, and she went, that'll be a good way to show off this little mini show that she'd put together, film. So she went in costume and she did it, and of course moved on quite quickly with all her gymnastic ability and strength. And it was a couple of years before I was able to follow her and cheer for her on the sidelines. And I looked at her, and she was strong. She had muscles. She was healthy and graceful, and she just flew through the course. And I looked at her and I went, oh, I want to get stronger. And I went to her and I said, I'd like to get stronger. And she said a couple of things, but what stuck in my head was to do pull-ups. Now, pull-ups have got to be one of the hardest things you can possibly do.
Yeah.
You have a bar and there's chin-ups where your hands face you and you pull up. And then there's a pull-up where they go the opposite direction, which is a little more difficult for people. So I couldn't. I couldn't do
Couldn't
a
do
pull-up.
one.
No,
No.
no. So that's when I went to a personal trainer, because if I was going to lift weights and get stronger, I needed to learn proper form. And that is so important for your audience to realize. I see so many people that get injuries as they get older because they're not in the proper form that they should be. So I told this trainer that I wanted to get 5 pull-ups. That was my goal. Goals are huge with me. And I thought that was an attainable goal. So it took an entire year. We worked on, you don't just work on pull-ups. It was shoulders and back and chest and legs and the whole body. And after 7 months, I started to see definition and tone, and people started recognizing it, which gave me that confidence of going on. So many people stop in the early stages. They go maybe a month and like they've had it, they're done. But if you kept going, if you're consistent, persistent, determined, it will come. So it took me an entire year to do 1 pull-up. Now, I was practicing, at my own home bar for quite a while before that, but seriously with a trainer, it took a year.
Yeah, because it is tough from the floor to actually, that's the bit I find the toughest, is actually pulling myself up to begin with. And then once I'm up there, I can do a few. But to do that from the floor is really hard going.
It is. That's the hardest part, is just getting up. And I tell a lot of people to do scapula pull downs. Just hold on to the bar. And this is what a scapula pull down is. So you do this and then maybe hold it for 3 seconds. And then you do this, a week later, 4 seconds. You just keep adding to it until you start to be able to, pull up with, you want to use your back muscles as well.
Yeah.
And you can do from top to middle and from bottom to middle. You can do pieces like that to get your muscles used to it. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll put a chair in front of me and put my toes on it and give myself a little bit of taking the weight off to get, to actually do the full range of motion of a pull-up. And little by little kind of take a foot away and take some of the weight away.
So by the time you were able to do 1 full pull-up, how old were you at that point?
I was around 64. I think I started at 63. Now, I'd never been in sports and I'd never been in a gym before in my life. I mean, dance was different. We didn't go to the gym and lift weights. So they do today, though, I think. Dance is much different today. I don't think I could be a dancer.
But presumably, you'd probably never tried it before in your life. Presumably that meant you were at least at one of the strongest points in your life at 64.
Yes. Most definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And then continued and got stronger and
Yes.
stronger from one pull up to 17 pull ups.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's all the way down. I mean, you have to go all the way down without your feet and your arms are straight, and then all the way up with your chin over the bar. So
Wow.
that was, I don't know, it was just like a huge challenge for me. I just had to do it. Now I'd like to get 20. Gonna have to go back and like work hard at it. But it's such a feeling of accomplishment, to get
Yeah.
something that's so hard. And I see so many people now that are trying to do it.
Yeah, 100%. I really want to do it, from the floor, as you say, properly. I think that would be a definite goal for me as well. Well, you ended up also appearing on the American Ninja Warrior show, and I'm keen for people who are maybe listening or not familiar with it outside the States, for you just to describe the kind of challenges that people are doing that. I can see a lot of sort of hanging
Yeah,
from bars and ropes and the kind of physical strength you need to do that. You need to complete an obstacle course, is that right?
that's correct. Yes, it's they start with the qualifier in order to move on, and that is 6 obstacles with the traditional steps, balancing, and a good like track. You have to have strong legs to go side to side on an angle over water, far apart. So that's one of the kind of obstacles. And after that, they have various ones, but they're usually a little tricky, so that you have a long dismount, or you have to hang on to something very, very tightly, or you have to do some swings. It varies, but it's upper body, a good bit of
Yeah.
upper body, and tricky.
How old were you when you applied?
I applied when I was 65.
And had they had an application or many applications from 65-year-olds at that point?
Not many, not many, and certainly no women. So,
Yes.
yeah.
So what was the attitude? Kind of, were they like, "Are you sure you want to try out for this?"
Well, they
What were they?
encouraged me to.
Okay.
We did a segment, my daughter and I. They thought it would be interesting to do a segment on her for her run, that a mother-daughter sequence where they produced it so beautifully, and we were working out together and going up bleachers and pushing on a sled and all sorts of things, and they encouraged me to apply. And I'm like, that's crazy. I can't do all these things. And I can barely do, one pull up at this point. But I went, you know what? I'll just apply and see what happens. Now you have to send in a video, 3-minute video that shows skill and personality. So I had a friend that lived nearby that had built them in his yard. And so I worked on a couple of those. So I felt comfortable doing several of these upper body obstacles. And again, they're mostly upper body if you can get through the balance. Then that's always a trial and a challenge. But so I had limited ability, and certainly not on the grand stage when you film at night for the lighting purposes, and you're over water, and golly, those steps look so far apart. When I stepped up to the thing, I looked at them and I'm like, oh my gosh. And I fell on the first obstacle.
Oof.
I was devastated. I was just totally devastated. And I thought, how could
Yeah.
this happen? I let down my daughter, my family, my husband, every senior in the world. And I just, I, I couldn't understand why it happened. Was it that I'm not strong enough in my legs? Was it that I slipped maybe the dew in the evening on the step? I mean, everything. But when I watched the show, when they aired it,
Mhm.
which was later, they didn't show me, which I was grateful for, but those athletes made that obstacle look so much easier than it is. I always look at it and think, I can do that. But there's I don't know, an athlete is just all around
Yeah.
strong.
Yeah.
And so I was, like I said, devastated. And my husband said, well, you'll do it again. And I'm like, what? You got to be kidding. I'm not doing that again. And he goes, no, you can do it. And then my daughter said, do not let one fall define you. Look how far you've come. and you can go back and have a great life, and it's, no loss, you're fine. Or you can get up and train again, train harder, which is what I ended up doing. And oh yeah, then COVID came around, and years passed by. I did it once again, and then I tested for them, which is they bring in people who are not doing, or who have already competed or are not competing, to test an obstacle. If it's not hard enough, they make it harder. If it's too easy, they change the obstacles when they see the testers go through. So I was able to get on the obstacles a little bit more. And then came season 15, where I became the oldest person to complete an obstacle. So I got through an
Wow.
obstacle. Interestingly enough, it wasn't the steps. They had changed it that year. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I had those steps down. Why did they change that? So it was like a pole vault, where you jumped on a mini tramp, you grabbed the pole, and it gradually fell down. So you had to keep climbing so that you could reach the dismount. A lot of people fell on that, simply because it was brand new and nobody had had a chance to kind of practice on how to do that. So that was another time of just the greatest feeling in the world, of
Yeah.
of to me, yeah, people want to win the show, obviously, and go on, and I would love to do that. But to get past that first obstacle was really important to me. Now it's like to get past the second obstacle is my big thing. So, I just attainable goals, just try to go to the next level.
Absolutely. Because are you not in the Guinness World Records for having.
Yes, and it had nothing to do with American Ninja Warrior. We have a lot of, I mean, that obviously played into it, but we have regional um, competitions, and, all around the nation. I think we have 4 or 5 of them just in North Carolina that I can go to. So it was competing that kept
Mhm,
me in the
mhm.
game. So at 71 and 9 months, I think they said I was the oldest female competitor in the world.
Fantastic.
In the
Wow.
world.
That's really
So,
something.
yeah, one of my friends introduced me, and she said she's the oldest person. No, she said, oh, yeah, the oldest female ninja competitor on the planet.
Wow.
So I love
You
that. I
gotta
was
love
like,
it.
okay, what about the universe?
It's
um,
quite something.
yeah, so that was I mean, it came from, not just getting old and just
Yeah.
not stopping, just getting up, just showing up and continually doing it at my pace. So that's one of my messages to people out there too. Just show up, just keep going, just don't give up.
100%. You are a fantastic role model for that.
Thank
Your
you.
strength training program today, how complex is it? I'm asking because I am always looking for ways that I can help people access strength training and becoming stronger in later life without spending a lot of money. So I mean, how much do you throw at it, and do you think there is a path there for people who, can't afford a personal trainer and so on, to use some of the equipment that you've used to gain such strength that is affordable and accessible?
There are a lot of things to do.
Hmm.
One of the things that people are constantly commenting on social media to me is, what about hands? Like, I have terrible arthritis. I mean, my fingers, my knuckles are like they're just huge. I can't wear rings anymore because of
Yeah.
that. But I do things, I put a couple of things aside just for this. This is a grip bar. So I exercise. This one is a very light one, but you can do this while you're watching TV. I use one that's a little bit heavier, that you can change the weight of it, and this one's harder to do. But I think my idea is, if you keep moving, then the moving parts won't rust.
Yes, absolutely. Use it or lose it. Yeah.
Right. So there are all these kind of things that are good to do for that. And a simple thing that I do during TV is I take the rubber band off of vegetables and I work my fingers. And I do this a lot. It's really important to work the wrists, to work the fingers, and massage the fingers and the palm. And Tai Chi, I think, has a lot of things where you just work the fingers like this.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things I do in order to have better grip on the bar. And also, just I think it's good for your wrist and your fingers.
Yep.
I also will take a lightweight. This is 2 pounds. And again, you need to have the proper form. So it's like the ear over the shoulder over the hip. And I'll do things like just pulling it up. You can't see that too well here, but it's called a lateral, or a jumping jack is like this with the weight. So I will do 3 sets of 15. Don't start that way. You might want to start with just a few. A bicep curl. And again, you want to keep, the trouble is I see too much of this, the rolled shoulders and the neck sticking out. Oh, I saw you just pull yourself up, didn't you?
Yeah. I was like, I was sitting like this. Of course,
So-
I just did that to prove your point.
Thank you. Thanks. So, yeah, I do a lot of exercises just like this to pull the shoulders back.
Oh,
Like
I need to do
this.
that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm
I'll
doing
do
this
this
with
like
you.
8 times, at all things like this to keep this. And I have to stop myself and go, oh, where am I? Oh, got to give up again. It's so important. And also, Tai Chi, you work your chin back too, so that helps your neck. So I will start, let's see, if I lift a heavier weight, I will start with less reps. So I will do maybe 12. If you can do 15 in 3 sets, then you can go up in weight, but not until it's very easy for you to.
But these on the lighter weights, and then when you can do them easily, you move on to a slightly heavier weight.
But less times, less reps. But I work, I mean, that would be the shoulders. I work a lot with the shoulders. I work with the wrists. This, if you can see it right now, is a TRX. And that's hooked in the door, and I lean back and pull myself up. It's like, I do different ones. I do this in order to get the shoulder blades together in the back. Oh, my back just cracked. So I'll pull up like this, and you use your body weight. And you can bring it here. And again, I'll do the 3 sets of 15. Start slow, though. Everything is start slow, baby steps. Then I have all these kind of things. They're different. They're different weights. This is not
Yeah.
expensive. And, you can do, like a lot of times, I'll just sit here and do 50 of these. So there's tons of things that you can do, stretching. This is a resistance band. These all come in different weights too. And of course, a bar is good to hang with. I suggest hanging for everyone. But again, a lot of times people can't hold their own weight. So you have to be
Yeah.
careful about how you do things.
Build up to that. And what do you think the benefits are for hanging? That was something I was interested in, because you do so much of it. I mean, aside from strength, what are some of the other benefits you're feeling? Is it just the stretch from it that is so good?
It's decompressing the spine. It's grip strength. So if you want to be
Yeah.
independent as you age, lift up your groceries and your children, you walk up and down the stairs, get up and out of a chair, you're going to need that muscle. You have to work that. But hanging is good for the brain. It's good for your grip control. It's good for decompression of the spine. So it's just all around a good exercise and an easy one to do. If you can do 20 seconds, that's great. But you might want to start with 3 seconds, just hanging. Again, to hold your own weight may be difficult. And sometimes what I do is I'll put my toes just slightly in front of me, and I can feel my back stretching out, which is really nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
The other thing is recovery. These kind of things are really important too. Rolling is kind of a thing.
Okay. Yeah, so we've got you've got a tube there that you lie on, do you? Do you put that under
I
your
do.
back?
I do. I may even put it on my shoulder against a wall. I may use it on my wrists rolling forward. Um, I can put it this way and stretch out my back if I'm doing it vertical as opposed to horizontal. I try to get to where that knot may be, which is typically right here. And I try to just uh, find that spot and then breathe into it, you know.
That is something I should definitely do, particularly in the evenings.
Yes, it feels great.
Because you noticed I was sort of hunched over talking to you, which is something I do a lot into my laptop. And
do.
then I'll end up with a headache the next day because I've been sort of hunching over and this, as you get older, obviously, the muscles here.
Which brings in text neck because we're
Yeah.
all sitting there with our cameras and you'd be surprised. And a desktop. I don't know why we do this, but we do that. So you have to, like anything else, you have to counterbalance. Mobility to me is one of the most important things because we do
Yeah.
have a lot of injuries in our joints. So, I mean, just going up without a weight, taking your arms up in the I and the Y, um, and like I said, the jumping jack, keeping that moving is so important. Again, if you want to reach and put something in the cabinet, if you want to get up out of your chair as you get older, you need those muscles, you need that strength.
That's it. It's those functional movements. And before we started recording, I was telling you about my parents, and one of they work out with a barbell, but one of the most valuable movements they do is squatting. Do you squat much?
I do.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just fantastic, isn't it? For people, when you're talking about getting out of a chair, getting up off the toilet, you need the strength in the core strength and the strength in your legs. And squatting, I think it's just one of the best things that you can possibly do.
It is. And that brings to mind balance. Balance is so important. It's a vestibular system that goes that goes after age 40, little by little. So, I mean, practicing when you're in your 50s, you should be able to balance on one foot for 40 seconds. When you're in your 60s, you should be able to do it for 20 seconds. When you're in your 70s, you should be able to do it for 10 seconds. But I caution you all the time to hold on to something next to you. Don't fall. These are things that you do in baby steps. Maybe you can't do it for 10 seconds the first time, but these are things that are important because if you lose your balance and you fall and your bones aren't strong, then you can break a hip.
Yeah, and that's really, really dangerous in our later years to break anything. I mean, squatting from a chair and to a chair is how my mum still does it. Actually, she wears a weighted vest for
Good for
added
her.
resistance, but she does it to the chair just to make sure she doesn't fall.
Yeah,
And so it's a great thing that everybody can do. So you have a hanging bar at home.
I do.
And what does your daily routine look like for exercise?
Well, I basically break it down into chest and triceps, shoulders, back and biceps, and legs. And of course, there's abs that you can do all the time. Those, I'll do in maybe 15 minutes. I should do it more. But anyway, so I break it down that way because if you're wearing out the muscle, let's say you're doing biceps and you do it, you're feeling it, you are doing tiny micro tears in the muscles. So you need that to build up again. If you do biceps every single day, then you're not giving the muscle chance to grow. So it will take longer. So you have a day that you're doing back and biceps, then you change the next day and you might do shoulders and then you might do legs. So that's kind of the way I break it up. And it's not necessarily the same every week. It seems like Mondays I always check in with shoulders because shoulders seem to get the worst wear with Ninja and the things that I do hanging wise and such. So,
Yeah.
but the mobility and keeping things moving is the key. The other thing I tell people is to start walking. And find a buddy, because it's much more fun when you have somebody and it makes you more accountable. And do it 3 times a week, 20 minutes each time.
A buddy or a dog?
A dog would
I have
be
a dog,
great.
and the dog keeps me accountable. No way I'm getting away. You know, rain or shine, we are out there in that park.
Excellent. It's a good thing for dogs then too.
Yeah.
So that's something I think is a good place to start getting mobile, and it's also impact good for your bones. And then you want to tell your dog to step it up a little bit and move a little faster so you get your heart rate up. So you want to get into the cardio. So there's ways to, like, maybe you do 60 seconds fast walking and then 90 seconds slow walking. And do that back and forth until you can change it so that it's 90 seconds of fast walking and 6. So you might even take a very light weight and use your arms, get your arms into it. I've seen people that put weights on their ankles. So there's a lot of ways to vary it, and different. Everybody can do walking.
And are you in the gym most days? Do you work out from home? How do you?
A little bit of both. I have the things that I can do at home. I love taking my yoga mat outside, though. I like being outside to get the sunshine, and I like to, lay down and work my ankles or whatever I'm working and look up at the sky. So I feel that I'm getting, good, a little bit of sun. I'm getting, of course, I'm in the shade, but I don't want to get too much sun. But I just like working out outside, and I do have a bar outside as well that I'll, do a couple of things on to make sure I can still do them. Yeah, and I still go to a personal trainer to keep me in check, because I want to make sure that I don't get into bad habits.
I mean, you're 73 now. How do you feel day to day?
This is the best time of my life. I think Guinness really opened up the world to me, where I now talk to you in the UK. I talk to South Africa, Poland, Mexico, Canada, somebody in China, India. It's just like we all across the planet seem to have the same difficulty in getting seniors up and moving, in just the obesity problems, and our diet. All those kind of things seem to be universal. And there are these groups of people in every country that are like trying to show the benefits, the health benefits, to the heart, to the brain. I just read something interesting. I think I saw it in a podcast, where the anterior mid cingulate cortex in your brain, it's in the back here, grows when you challenge yourself. So in other words, if I do the same exercise every single day, or if I get up and go to a class that I don't really want to go to, but I'm forcing myself to, just think of this: your brain is growing.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, I like that
That's
too.
wonderful.
And another
Yeah.
one I a lot of times tell people is that, I climb ropes a lot, and I've gotten up pretty high. But the first time I was doing it, I may have gotten up to about, I don't know, maybe 35 feet. I have a harness, and my daughter was filming it, and I was like, okay, I'm ready to come down on the harness. And she was doing, do one more. And I'm thinking, oh, I didn't make it to 40 feet. Okay, so I climbed a couple more, and I stopped, and I said, okay, I'm ready to go down. She goes, do one more. And I'm like, I haven't made it to 40. Well, I have to make it to 40. So I took a couple more, and then I said, that's it. And I came down, I said, Jessie, why did you keep telling me to do one more? And she said, because that's when you get your greatest strength. So it's same thing with a pull-up. If you go, and you just drop, why don't you just hold that moment? And my arms will be shaking, and just hold it a bit longer. That's when you're getting your strongest.
When
So
you're
I
really
always tell
pushing
people,
yourself.
just do one more.
Yeah, good advice. I mean, what's the expectation at 73? when it comes to aging and getting stronger, is there a point, do you think, where you'll really just be trying to maintain? Are you aiming to keep increasing your strength? Do you know what's possible at this point?
I don't know what's possible, but I'm hoping. I mean, I take back steps. There's no doubt about it. If I have a slight injury or um, something with my foot, I mean, things here or there, I kind of go backwards and I have to kind of push myself again. It comes back faster, but it's like constantly redoing and getting back to stronger. And I hope to still get stronger. I mean, I want to get those 20 pull-ups. I want to feel stronger. It makes me feel good,
Yeah.
you know.
And aside from just the incredible strength that you've been able to achieve at this stage in life, there's also a youthful aura. And the way I came to exploring healthy aging was through aesthetics. It was at 45 years of age, working as a journalist, talking to the women around me. And I was working at a tabloid newspaper, and they were all getting things like Botox and so on. And I just started to become interested in skincare and that kind of thing because I was starting to notice the signs of aging on my skin. That was what started me off. I was looking at skin aging and what can we do and the science behind it. And then that pulled me into the whole wider sphere of aging. I just became fascinated with it. What we can do to age well and what that looks like, what that means. And I arrived obviously at strength training and muscle strength being such a massive component of that. And what I found, and I wondered what your take on this is, as I get stronger, my focus on my face gets less and less. It's like I feel youthful because I am strong. And I think that's very interesting. The focus comes off the face because you're feeling more youthful. What do you think about that? I mean, does that chime with you?
It does. It's the inner strength, the inner feeling is very youthful because you can get up and down and you can do things, but the aging process continues. So you have to fight against it. We're always fighting against it. But I think that I feel the same way you do, is I don't have the focus on, uh, you know, obviously I don't color my hair anymore. I let it go. That was for the acting process, but it's very liberating as well. Um, I would, the other things they're fine for people. They make them feel good. I prefer feeling good with strength because I feel it will aid me in becoming independent for as long as possible.
Yes.
And that's more important to me than looks. Looks are important. Don't get me wrong. I like, I hate looking at myself when I was 20 and looking at myself now, but um, it's the inner strength and the inner uh, being that I like to feel about more than the look part.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be sensitive here because
Well, looking at you sitting there with, these strong arms and your beautiful sculpted muscles there on show, I could never class you as elderly. You don't fall into that camp because the feeling is not there. Just on it's the overall persona and the aura and
well,
just
thank you.
the physical presence just it kind of redefines you, and that just
That's
fascinates me as
that's the
well.
word I like, is it's redefining aging. It's throwing away all those stereotypes of what you can and can't do, and just like feeling no limits, that you can't do what you dream of. You can be very mobile late in life. There are people who do it. You can see it all the time. I wish we saw more of it because I think that would help be role models for people, that they go,
Yeah.
hmm. And I do get that a lot from people who are commenting and going, I you've given me hope that I can do that. I'm 50 or I'm 60, and now I see what you're doing at 73, and I feel that I can do that. If I can do it, you can do that. And so, and it's true. It's true. It's just you have to take the time doing it. You don't want to get hurt. That's the problem.
Yeah.
You want to
Find a way
have,
that works for you. Yeah.
yeah,
That is affordable, accessible, doable, and that you'll stick with.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And you form a habit. Once you form a habit, when you commit and you form that habit and you're consistent, then it all goes from there. Then you don't want to skip a day. You don't feel good not moving and getting up and down. And yeah.
Fantastic. And I will share, of course, a link to your Instagram page in the description below. Is there anywhere else
Okay.
people can find you or follow you?
I am on Facebook as well, but I
Okay.
mostly use Instagram because
Instagram.
it allowed me, actually, after that first fall, when my daughter said, "Don't let one fall define you," she was saying to show your progress on Instagram, and there was incredible feedback. So it helped me. It helped me get out of those doldrums, of like, oh, look, I let everybody down, to, oh, I can do these things. Yeah, I just,
Yeah.
I fell. So get up
You
again
fell and
and
you got back up.
train harder. Yeah, don't let that quit in. So, I do feel that this is the very best time of my life.
That is so fantastic to hear. What a note to finish on. Jenny, thank you so much for your time. Totally appreciate
Oh,
it.
you're welcome. And to your audience as well. I hope that can motivate and inspire you to get up and get moving, and maybe get some a little training first, and getting the proper form, and making that habit.
Yep. Make it happen.
Hmm.
Thanks, Jenny.
You're welcome.
Amazing stuff from Ginny there. And if you found this conversation inspiring, do let us know in the comments. In the description below, you'll find links to Ginny's social media account so you can continue to follow her journey. And I've also shared a link to more inspiring interviews like this one around how to age well. And to make sure you don't miss out on future episodes from me, then be sure to hit subscribe or follow the podcast if you haven't already. You can also sign up below to my free monthly newsletter. I round up all my latest content in it, and I usually include a great giveaway with each update too. So until next time, thank you for being here today.